Some of those numbers. Total number of unaccompanied children released to sponsors in fiscal year 24, which is still ongoing, 74,789. Total number of children released to sponsors in fiscal year 2020, 16,837. Sheriff, what's your analysis of those numbers?
Look, these numbers are probably much higher than what they're telling you. There's about 140,000, 150,000 unaccompanied minors coming across the border every year right now. That fiscal year ended at the end of September, and they were being questioned about 85,000 children that they didn't know where they were. So that number is probably much higher, like you heard earlier. It's probably in the 100 to 125,000. Now you have 74,000. Just to put that into perspective for people, our Super Bowl was played here at State Farm Stadium here in Phoenix. That only holds 73,000. So that's more people than what would have filled the entire State Farm Stadium. That's how many kids were being released.
Jenny, what about that big discrepancy in unaccompanied children? Excuse me.
Absolutely. From the start, there have been whistleblowers that have come forward from these facilities that are quote unquote vetting these sponsors of migrant, and they're finding that there are individuals in this country who are sponsoring dozens of children at a single address, or are bouncing around at different addresses in a single state, raising alarms that federal authorities should investigate. Not only that, but when they're calling the sponsors, they're never actually really interviewing them face to face from what I've heard, but when they're calling these sponsors and asking what is the name of the child that you're taking in, what is any descriptor about them, what are they like, what do they look like, they really can't answer that question. But HHS is so focused on expeditiously getting people out of their custody that this has become a problem by the thousands.
Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise, and today we need to talk about something that the mainstream media refuses to cover, at least those on the left. Kamala Harris's border crisis and the heartbreaking reality of what's happening to migrant children. A shocking report recently came out from the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General, which stated that the Biden-Harris administration has no idea where 323,000 unaccompanied minor children are, or if they're even safe. This is beyond disturbing, ladies and gentlemen. But sadly, the full story is even worse than that. This report doesn't even cover the massive failures the Department of Health and Human Services, which is supposed to be vetting sponsors to make sure these children are being placed in safe homes. What's really happening, though, the Biden-Harris team is cutting corners, removing critical checks to speed up the process. They've literally sent kids to addresses that don't even exist. One kid was sent to an open field. Come on, man. They sent a child by themselves and dropped them off at an open field. And the people taking these kids in, some of them have criminal records, ties to MS-13, and some even have histories of abuse. It's absolutely appalling. This is all coming from an administration that promised to handle the border crisis, quote unquote, humanely. You can't make this stuff up, man. They can't even protect the children crossing the border. And speaking of Kamala's so-called leadership at the border, you guys remember this?
Hi, my name is Sally Hartman. I'm a volunteer with the Center for Worker Justice. Okay. I want to know, when you become president, would you be committing to close the immigration detention centers?
Absolutely, on day one. On day one. And thank you for your work.
Okay, so Kamala Harris promised during her 2020 campaign to shut down all private migrant detention centers on day one if she became president. Here she was at a town hall in Iowa, confidently declaring that these facilities shouldn't exist, that taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used for them. And remember back in 2018, when she even went as far as comparing ICE agents to the KKK? Imagine vilifying the very people trying to manage the crisis and then doing absolutely nothing to stop it for almost 4 years. Heck, they did everything that they could to exacerbate the issue. I mean, the hypocrisy with this one is off the charts. And speaking of hypocrisy, remember when under Trump, the media was in complete meltdown mode, labeling detention centers as concentration camps. MSDNC's Rachel Maddow literally broke down in tears on live TV over these centers. You guys remember that?
To at least three... Can we put up the graphic of this? Thank you. Do we have it? No. 3 tender age shelters in South Texas. Lawyers and medical providers. Just... I think I'm going to have to hand this off. Yeah. Sorry.
Wow. I mean, come on, man. Spare me the outrage. Where's the outrage now that over 300,000 children are missing? Do you not care about that, Miss Rachel? That Harris lost hundreds of thousands of children, that some of them are being abused, being exploited, that they're victims of child trafficking? Why did these tears just magically dry up? Is child trafficking fine when it's helping the left politically? When they're allowing thousands to cross the border to do what? To vote for Democrats? I really want to know, where is the outrage now that Kamala is having 3 new migrant processing facilities built as we speak?
These NGOs like HIAS, like Catholic Charities, like IOM, all these people, UN in general, they are taking over countries.
How long have you said you've been going down there?
I started immediately after Biden was installed. When
So
Biden,
about 3 years.
Yep, I just left. It was about 3,000 a day, right?
3,000 what?
Aliens coming through per day. And that would be mostly Venezuelans, hundreds of Chinese per day, Afghans every day, just who's who in the zoo, 150 different countries, tons of Arabs. NGOs have made water facilities there. They're building 2 new camps out, or actually 3. One is at Bajo Chiquito Village. There's another near Bajo Chiquito Village, which is going to, I don't know, be big enough for maybe 15,000 people per day, right? On a completely different river, the Rio Membrillo, that we call that the China route. They're building another new camp out there as well.
During the 3 years that you've been going
Oh,
down?
I would say at least 5 times bigger. It's more efficient. So when you come out of the jungle, you sign in, and a lot of people don't even have IDs. Nobody knows who they are. The people, as they make it through the Darien Gap, they get on buses. They go to 2 major camps after they get out. One's called Las Blancas, and the other one's called San Vicente. San Vicente is the one I call China Camp.
OIM, Red Cross, UNICEF, HIAS, European Union, Doctors Without Borders, UNHCR, and the Norwegian Refugee Council. All of these organizations play a role in a carefully planned mass migration pipeline. Paper by the IOM titled Migration and the 2030 Agenda, a clear plan for mass migration of people is presented. The report begins by stating, the 2030 Agenda recognizes migration as a core development consideration, which marks the first time migration is integrated explicitly into the Global Development Agenda, and further states, quote, it is possible to link migration to every goal in the 2030 Agenda. Shockingly, the report refers to migrant men, women, and children as agents of development. Finally, the report states that we should not focus efforts on trying to stop migration, facilitating, not restricting.
Yo, this is absolute insanity. Everyone's got to know by now that this is a well-scripted play, and the audience is the unwitting American people. This is what they're talking about when they say immigration reform. Not more security or stricter requirements. It's faster processing and distribution throughout the entire country. This is why they wanted to pass the border bill so bad. More money means they could have had these facilities operational in time for the election. Now let's keep it clear. The goal is to straight up destroy our country from the inside out and create a one-party dictatorship using new voters. That's why you won't hear Maddow or any other propagandists in the media cry wolf now that Kamala is not only losing migrant children left and right, but that she's also planning on expanding these facilities.
Harris lost. Listen to these numbers, though. Seriously, if this were a Republican, they'd be stringing them up. Now listen to this number, because you have to understand what it means. 325,000 children have been lost. They've been allowed to be trafficked all across our borders. She flew in illegal aliens by the hundreds of thousands, and many of these were young children. But we have no idea where think of the number, 325,000 children are missing. Many are dead. Many are involved in sex operations. Many are working as slaves in different parts of probably this country and probably many others. But she was the border czar. Now she says I wasn't the border.
Wow, this is a crime of extraordinary proportions. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and it's all on the Biden-Harris administration and their policies that are encouraging more and more unaccompanied minors to make the dangerous trek to the border, putting them at risk of exploitation and abuse.
The President of the United States has a message tonight for migrant children and others in overcrowded border detention centers and everyone who's concerned about them. Many of these illegals, aliens, are living far better now than where they came from and in far safer conditions. That's what the president tweeted earlier. Now, you might say, well, at least he seems to be acknowledging that many of these human beings in detention fled from unsafe conditions in their homes, in their home countries. What he actually means, of course, is quit complaining. And to the kids in cages without soap or toothbrushes or any clear idea of what's going to happen to them or if they're going to see their families again, seems like the message from the president is basically, kids, suck it up. It's not that bad.
Yeah, so no matter how much they try to sell that this was happening or is happening under Trump, do not forget the photos that they showed a couple of years ago where migrant children were in those facilities. Those photos were from the Obama Biden administration. And now the same thing's happening under the same failed leadership. But it's even worse this time. Trump tried to put a stop to the flow of migrants at the border. And to some extent, he succeeded. Migrant encounters were much lower during his administration. He built some of the wall, although Democrats fought him tooth and nail and stopped him from even finishing the daggone wall. I'd argue his immigration policy was way more humane than what we're seeing right now. He didn't encourage migrants, young children, to make the dangerous trek to the border. You think the Democrats don't know what that journey looks like right now? So why are they continuing to encourage people to come here illegally? Why are their friends at NGOs funding their policies when they know that thousands die trying to make it to the border? That cartels and trafficking rings are exploiting these migrants, many of them young children. Any which way you look at it, it's been a complete catastrophe.
¿Y de qué país?
De Colombia.
De Colombia. ¿Y cuántos años tienes tú?
11.
¿Y cuántos meses en Estados Unidos?
Un mes.
Un mes.
Pero veniste aquí para trabajar, ¿verdad? Sí, claro, y para estudiar, para conseguir un futuro. Porque es que allá en Colombia tuvo un caso muy malo que pasó con mi papá y mi mamá.
¿De los años de los niños que andan acá afuera?
De 8, de 11, de 14.
Trabajando acá afuera.
Ajá. Esto que han robado y entonces tenemos que cuidarnos. Aquel día a una señora le robaron al niño y nunca...
¿Robaron al niño?
Ajá.
¿En dónde?
Aquí se lo robaron, se lo llevaron en una camioneta.
¿Se lo llevaron en una camioneta?
No, solo un niño, se lo llevaron.
Mucho cuidado, cuidado, que no les pase eso. Se lo llevaron en una camioneta a un niño. ¿No sabes de qué edad era?
No, solo vi que se lo llevaron y pues la mamá estaba gritando y...
¿Cuántos años?
10 años, 10.
10 años. ¿Y qué país tú?
Ecuador.
¿De un albergue o con tu familia?
Vine de un albergue con mi mamá y mi papá.
¿Qué pasa aquí en Times Square en Nueva York? ¿Qué pasó?
Vendiendo agua.
¿Todo eso en un día?
40, 30.
¿Cuántos días de la semana trabajas?
Viernes, sábado y domingo.
3 days a week.
Y lunes.
4 días.
Sí, 4.
¿Cuántas horas al día?
Vengo a las 4 y acabo a las 2 de la mañana.
¿Y tú pasas la selva de Ariel, sí?
Sí, yo pasé la selva del Ariel.
¿En la selva tú encontrar cadáveres?
Yes.
Sí. ¿Cuánto?
No sé, pero sí había muchos cadáveres, muchos. En las carpas, en los árboles, todo eso había muertos y cadáveres.
¿Que si viste que se robaban a niños en la selva?
Sí.
Can you tell us a story?
Sí, se ahogaban.
¿Los niños?
Sí.
viste con otros niños?
Otros niños veía que se ahogaban, que no aparecían, se perdían en la selva, todo eso.
¿Niños sin papás acá afuera?
Sí, sin madres, con papás a veces.
¿Es que viven en la calle?
Sí,
¿A dónde?
por aquí pasan todo eso.
Niños con no casa.
Sí.
¿Sí?
Otros niños viven en hotel, otros niños viven en la calle. Nosotros sabemos ver.
¿Puedes decir para dónde ir a verlos?
La verdad no sé, solo saben pasar pidiendo todo eso.
¿Que te quieres regresar a Ecuador?
Sí.
¿Por qué?
Es que aquí para mí es muy feo, cuesta muy caro, todo, no dejan vender, los policías nos mandan y queremos un puesto estable para vender, que no nos molesten, nada más.
Goodness gracious, man. I don't have any words. I mean, this is criminal. We've got unaccompanied migrant children working long hours, seeing dead bodies, being abducted, and exploited under these so-called humane policies the Democrats are pushing. Does this sound humane to you? The horrors these children are facing are absolutely gut-wrenching. These stories coming out of New York City, it's unthinkable. I mean, could you imagine your 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kid in Times Square or somewhere else, you know, in a major city, out until 2 o'clock in the morning selling water or trinkets or whatever? But this is par for the course in third world countries. This is par for the course. When I was in the military, this is the kind of things that we would see when we would pull into different countries. We would see children out all times of the night trying to make a dollar for their family. It's just so ridiculous to me. And the fact that the media isn't doing anything about it, it's just frustrating. You won't hear this type report on a CNN or an MSDNC. They won't report on it because it doesn't fit their narrative. They won't tell you about these children working themselves into exhaustion or about the dangerous crossings through the Darien Gap where some of these kids have witnessed the worst atrocities. I would assume that some of these kids are probably suffering from PTSD, at least a little bit. I mean, thank God there's still a shred of independent journalism alive in this country today, reporting on the real news, reporting on what's really happening out there, because the fake news media, these Democrat Party shills, the Democrat propagandists, if it was left up to them, we'd still be in the dark. They don't want you to see the truth. These people's only job is to shill for the Democrat Party. It's flat out disgusting. It's dangerous. And it's a stain on our country. This is the legacy of the Biden-Harris administration. Children suffering, disappearing, being trafficked, all while the media turns a blind eye. This was happening under Trump. There would be 24/7 outrage. But right now, crickets. You hear absolutely nothing from CNN or MSDNC or any other left-leaning platform out there. And why? Because keeping Democrats in power is more important to them than the lives of these children. It's simple as that. This is the reality. These are the policies that invite disaster, policies that are costing innocent children their lives and their future. I don't know what to do at this point. I really don't. How can anyone look at what's happening and not be completely just enraged? Watching the previous clip here of those children, of that young man out there telling you what he does 4 days a week, out until 2 o'clock at night. I struggle with that, you know, with my son that's a teenager right now, with him being out that late at night. I mean, come on, man. I mean, where is the accountability? Where is the outrage from the people who supposedly care about these children? I mean, we're just scratching the surface. We really are. We're scratching the surface right now. I would assume it won't be any time. It won't be any time in the near future, but I would assume in 5 to 10 years, there is going to be a scathing report about what happened during this administration when these kids become adults and they can really tell you the truth about what went down for real during this time frame. It's going to blow people's minds, and you're going to have a whole lot of people have to really sit back and think, what the heck have I been supporting? I mean, I'm upset. I'm sure you guys are upset about what you just heard here in this video. Make sure you share this video. People need to see this. I just don't think there's a lot of coverage, you know, going on right now. It's just frustrating. I mean, do you think the media is complicit in this cover up? Let me know in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think about this particular video here. I mean, I know it's a lot. I know some of this stuff, this is probably the first time that you've heard it. There's been rumblings around it, but I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. Consider joining the ARP family. It supports me, the team, the channel. It gives us the ability to do what we do on a day-to-day basis. I want to give a big shout out to Renee Wilson and Gwen Joyce. Thank you all for joining the ARP family. I really, really appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Do not take it for granted. I promise you I don't. God bless each and every person that has joined the ARP family. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up, and we'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.